The anime begins with Haruhi, a new honors student looking for a quiet room to study at the prestigious Ouran Academy. He doesn't fit in with the rich students there, so he chooses a music room that seems unused. But what he didn't know is that that room belongs to the members of the host club. They scare him with their exotic personalities, and he ends up breaking a very expensive ancient vase. Then, Tamaki names Haruhi the host club's dog, and he will have to work for the club to pay for the vase. Haruhi's first task is to bring coffee to Tamaki, but he brings him instant coffee and Tamaki makes him show everyone how a commoner makes commoner coffee. After that, Ootori, the vice president of the host club, explains a little about the club. The members are the first-year Hikaru and Kaoru, Honey and Mory, third-year members, and finally, he and Tamaki are second-year students. The host club caters to the needs of its guests using the different personalities of the members, and Tamaki is an expert at it. The girls adore him, so he tries to teach Haruhi about cordiality. But he says that what is important is what is inside, not appearances. But Tamaki believes that the members are beautiful inside and out and decides that he needs a change of look. They remove his glasses, cut his hair, and give him a new uniform, and now Haruhi looks like someone totally different, and Tamaki is delighted with the result, so he makes him an official member of the club, and if Haruhi manages to attract 100 customers, Tamaki will forgive the exorbitant debt. Then Haruhi has tea with his first 3 customers. He is nervous but tells them a little about his family, and the girls are delighted with him, deciding to have tea with him again tomorrow. Tamaki is charmed by Haruhi. He says that he has a natural aura to be a host and introduces him to his regular costumer, Ayana Koji, who does not like Haruhi at all. Later, Haruhi's bag disappears. Haruhi goes into the fountain and takes out his bag and books, but he can't find his wallet, and that's a problem, because there is the only money he has for food for the week. Tamaki sees what he is doing and also goes into the fountain to look for the wallet and fortunately finds it quickly. The next day, Ayana Koji asks to have tea with Haruhi and tells him that she threw his bag into the fountain and is not at all sorry. In fact, she is angry that he made Tamaki help him look for it. Haruhi can't believe that she is jealous, and when she finds herself discovered, Ayana Koji knocks over the tea table and accuses Haruhi of assaulting her. But Tamaki intervenes and tells her that he already knows that she threw Haruhi's bag and that no longer makes her fit to be a club guest. After that, Tamaki gives Haruhi a female uniform since his is dirty with tea, but when Haruhi puts on the dress, Tamaki realizes that Haruhi is a girl. She tells him that if he wants to see her as a boy, that's fine. The important thing is to be a good person. And Tamaki blushes just thinking that he was humming a girl all this time. A week later, Haruhi runs to the club room, but when she opens the door, she feels like she is in the southern tropics, and Tamaki explains that he wanted the room to look like a paradise beach for the guests. When the customers arrive, they are fascinated by the outfits of the club members, and Tamaki informs them that next week there will be a dance party because they will rent the huge room in the main building. Haruhi's customers want him to wear a tropical costume, which she says that likes to wear seasonal clothes, and now it's spring, and they agree with her and say that they can't wait to see her wear a beautiful outfit at the dance party. After that, a second-year girl, Kasuga, tells Haruhi that it's her time to be together, and she can't believe how cute she is, so she decides to make him her new figure host, when hers was Tamaki. Later, Tamaki makes an exaggerated fuss by asking Haruhi to dress like a girl again, causing everyone to ask her why she has short hair, and Haruhi tells them that a boy stuck a piece of gum in her long hair and it was easier to cut it than try to remove it. Tamaki continues to insist that he wants her to be a girl again, but she refuses because she will be able to pay off the debt faster if she's a member of the club. Then Tamaki makes another plan and says that Haruhi must participate in the dance party, and if she doesn't know how to waltz, he will tell everyone that she's a girl and demote Hui to being the errand guy again. The days go by and Kasuga teaches Haruhi to dance the waltz, which leaves Tamaki gloomy because he wanted to teach her, but he is very tall. Suddenly, the new teacups arrive and Kasuga praises them sadly, which is quickly noticed by Tamaki. It turns out that the person in charge of the club's elegant cutlery is Suzushima, a young heir who will soon go to live in London, and he is Kasuga's fiancé. Tamaki says that the host club's goal is to make its customers happy, so they have to work in Kasuga. Days after, the dance party begins and everyone is dressed elegantly, and Tamaki announces that the best dancer of the night will receive a kiss on the cheek from him. All the club members start dancing with different girls while Haruhi waits for Kasuga. When they start dancing, Tamaki tells everyone that the mission has begun. Suddenly, the members Haruhi leaving Kasuga perplexed. They give her a dress, a wig, and high heels, and then they help her put on her makeup. Everything has to be quick because she only has 20 minutes to execute the plan. Tamaki runs into the mission room and tells them to hurry up and is shocked to see Haruhi's feminine beauty, but there is no time to waste and she goes to the classroom where Suzushima was summoned with a love letter. Haruhi pretends to be the one who wrote them that love letter, but Suzushima says that he's in love with another girl, even though he's a boring guy for such an interesting girl, and that is why he wants to go abroad, because he wants to become a better man for her, and Haruhi scolds him because a boy should always be honest with his fiancé. Meanwhile, Tamaki takes Kasuga out of the ballroom and guides her to the classroom where Tamaki and Haruhi are and tells her that he has noticed that she always appreciates the different cups, and Kasuga vents her sadness by telling him that she loves a boy who is going to study abroad without having told her. Then Kasuga opens the classroom door and her heart breaks when she sees Suzushima with another girl and runs away crying, but this time he goes after her to explain everything to her. They arrive at the schoolyard and some floodlights turn on, and Tamaki announces that they are the best couple of the night and congratulates them. They start dancing and Suzushima confesses everything to Kasuga and asks her again to marry him, and she happily agrees. Then the host club announces that Kasuga is the dance queen and has earned a kiss on the cheek, but the members have decided that the kiss on the cheek will be from Haruhi. She reluctantly goes even though Ootori tells her that they will cut a third of her debt if she does it. Tamaki does not agree with the decision at all and tries to stop it when he realizes that it is Haruhi's first kiss. And in the rush to stop the kiss, he trips and pushes Haruhi onto Kasuga, and the kiss ends up being on their lips, and Haruhi can't believe that her first kiss was with a girl. Chapter 3, days later, the host club has a flower viewing party, and the girls delight in Tamaki's charms, the flirtations between Hikaru and Kaoru, and all this is taken advantage of by Ootori, who sells photo books of the club members. While Haruhi, Mori, and Honey prepare traditional Japanese tea, although honey is not very good, the girls drink it anyway. After that, Tamaki tries to have a conversation with Haruhi, but they don't have much in common, unlike the twins, who are her classmates. Then Ootori explains him that the three of them spend a lot of time together, and he only sees her when they have club activities, and that make Tamaki desperate because perhaps she will fall for the twins' charms and soon become a girlfriend of one of them, and everyone will know that she is a girl. But the twins object that soon everyone will know her secret because the physical exam day is approaching, and that's something Haruhi hadn't thought about, but she doesn't mind revealing her gender. Tamaki begins to imagine what it would be like if Haruhi revealed that she is a girl and concludes that they would be a great couple since they are both beautiful, so he ignores the issue. Unfortunately for him, Honey breaks his dream by saying that if everyone finds out that Haruhi is a girl, she won't be able to be part of the club, and Tamaki realizes that she would spend all her time with the twins and none with him, and the others add that they would not like all the boys courting her, so they would help protect her secret. The first problem they have to solve is that Haruhi doesn't mind being discovered since she can look for another job to pay off her debt, so they have to tempt her with something else, and the answer is food. The boys tell her that if she stays at the club pretending to be a boy, she will be able to eat a lot of fancy food, and she accepts. The next day, the boys are in their mission to take care of Haruhi's secret. Honey and Mori dress up as doctors. The twins do not hesitate their shirts to distract the girls, while Ootori guides Haruhi by explaining that all the students are rich and have their own doctors. This is just a formality and a show. Suddenly, Honey and Mori hide Haruhi, and Tamaki takes her place wearing a wig saying that he is Haruhi, but no one believes him because of the height difference, and Tamaki can't believe that he trusted the twins' absurd plan. Tamaki apologizes to Haruhi, but she looks at him angrily, and that leaves him petrified. Then, Ootori confesses that he hired a private doctor to do Haruhi's physical examination and takes her to another room. While waiting for her, they hear some girls commenting about a rude, unprofessional doctor who is heading to the private room where Haruhi is. The boys run to save her and find the strange doctor with her and beat him up, but the doctor tells them that it is not what they believe and tells them his story. It turns out that he is very bad at handling money, and his wife and daughter abandoned him, so he thought of coming to see his daughter at school, but the directors mistook him for a doctor and brought him for the medical examination. Then, Ootori tells him that he got the school mixed up. This is an academy for rich people, and he was looking for a public school with the same name. So Tamaki is moved by his story and asks Ootori to order a taxi to take Doctor to the right school. After that, Haruhi tells them that she is going to continue pretending to be a boy, not because of the fancy food, but because she wants to pay off her debt, and that excites Tamaki so much that he jumps to hug her. Days later, the host club organizes a tea session dressed in kimonos and puts on several tear scenes that make their guests delighted. Suddenly, Tamaki realizes that a new girl is spying on them and tries to flirt with her to attract her to the club, but she does not fall for his charms and calls him phony, to everyone's shock. She continues insulting him more and more, and Tamaki. Then the girl named Renj sees Ootori and runs to hug him, saying that he is her true fiancé, praising all his good deeds, but no one knows what she is talking about. In front of everyone's confused faces, Renj explains to them that Ootori looks just like the protagonist of the current most popular love simulation game. And to Tamaki's relief, Ootori tells them that he has never seen Renj and much less is committed to her, as she says. Although that does not discourage her from wanting to be the manager of the club because she wants to be close to her fiancé. And unfortunately, Renj's father is an important client of Ootori's family, so he asks them to be nice to her. The next day, Tamaki says that she thinks it's a good idea to have a female manager because Haruhi needs to have female influence since she spends a lot of time with the twins and that's not good. At that moment, Renj enters with cookies she made for Ootori, but everyone tries some and she gets angry. But not only her gets angry, Haruhi tries one and the twins do not hesitate to flirt with her, but Haruhi does not give them any importance and Tamaki says that she does not respond like a girl. Suddenly, Renj gets serious and says that they are all boring characters because none of them have a dark side, and she doesn't want them to ruin her precious Ootori's business. So from now on, she will change their backstories. She starts with Honey. He will be a boy with a baby face, but in reality, he is a Mori will be his childhood friend Flunky. The twins will be professional basketball players. Haruhi is an honor student who is Tamaki is a prince with an inferiority complex, while Ootori will remain the same because according to Renj, he is perfect. The next day, Renj goes further and decides to film them as if they were a movie. First, the twins act as basketball players, and when one is injured, the other suffers, but they do not separate. They are seen by Tamaki in the rain who suffers because he is too attractive. While in the school forest, Haruhi runs away from her Honey and his lackey Mori. Unfortunately, Honey is very tender and cannot hit Haruhi, and hugs her asking for forgiveness. This angers Renj, who cuts the filming immediately. It turns out that she brought a director and his crew from Hollywood to film them and they have to cooperate as Ootori asked them. So Renj goes in search of two guys with terrifying faces to film Haruhi's scenes. The problem is that she chose them because they come from Japanese families and that bothers them because they are not like their parents and they push her. Fortunately, Haruhi prevents her from hitting the wall. Although the blow hurt her so much that tears fell down her face and that is seen by Tamaki. He quickly gets and to hit those boys, but they assure him that it's all Renj's fault and Haruhi confirms it. Then Tamaki runs and comforts Haruhi because he doesn't like seeing her cry, but she explains that she is not crying because of pain, but because her contact lenses moved and they itch. Suddenly, Ootori breaks the video camera lens and tells Renj that she has gone too far and is annoying as the plague, and Renj starts crying inconsolably because Ootori doesn't behave like the prince he is. Then Haruhi tells her that the beauty of life is getting to know others little by little and she should try it. Days later, Ootori sells the movie that Renj filmed like hotcakes, although he eliminated the scene of Tamaki other students because violence is not allowed in the club. At that moment, Renj enters and apologizes for everything and says that she would follow Haruhi's advice and wants to get to know her more and takes her away. Ootori laughs and tells Tamaki that what he wanted will be fulfilled, that Haruhi has feminine influence, but Tamaki protests because Renj thinks Haruhi is her new prince. Days later, the twins propose a game to their guests, guessing who is Kaoru and who is Hikaru. Although Haruhi thinks it is a silly game and they explain to her the perks of being twins, since they can use many taboo themes to make people happy. Suddenly, Tamaki enters the club room angrily, scolding the twins for putting photos of Haruhi on the club's homepage and imagines scenarios where they took photos of her, although the twins assure him that they are digitally retouched photos. Then Haruhi scolds the twins and asks them not to Photoshop any more photos of her and asks them why they do it, and they say that for them, everything is fun and people are toys. At that moment, a guy wearing a hood snoops from the door and offers them to join the Black Magic Club. He may give them voodoo dolls to play with, but they are not interested. His Nekozawa and Tamaki warns Haruhi to be careful of that guy and his cat puppet because she could be cursed. Once he accidentally stepped on the puppet before taking a test and failed miserably, although Ootori says that he took the wrong test and that curse didn't happen. Then the twins scare Nekozawa with a flashlight and he runs away in terror because he is afraid of light. After that, the twins are bored and ask Haruhi if they can go visit her at her house, but she fervently refuses, so the twins propose a game. If she doesn't guess which one is which, the penalty will be her permission. Incredibly, Haruhi easily guesses who Kaoru and Hikaru are because to her, they are similar but different. For example, Hikaru's actions and speech are more ornery than Kaoru. That bothers Kaoru and he starts listing all of Hikaru's flaws and accuses him of being in love with Haruhi, which puts Tamaki on alert, but the twins pay no attention and continue insulting each other. The next day, Hikaru appears in class with pink hair while Kaoru dyed it blue. Unfortunately, the fight between them continues in the classroom and then in the school cafeteria. They try to be different, but they like the same foods. At that moment, Tamaki and the host club members enter and stop the fight, although the blonde is more interested in Haruhi's lunchbox and begins to imagine that she would make him romantic lunchboxes in the future. After that, Hikaru exchanges his lunch with Haruhi, because in his desire to be different from Kaoru, he chose dishes that he doesn't like. Hikaru tries the Academy's food for the first time and is fascinated by it, then Kaoru also wants to feed her and Hikaru gets angry at throwing food at him and a food fight begins. In the afternoon, the club members meet without the twins and Ootori begins to calculate the losses that the club will have since they may not be able to offer the twins' brotherly package anymore. Honey is worried because it is the first time the twins have fought, but Tamaki says that maybe this fight will be for the better since the twins have always been together. Distancing themselves from each other will be an opportunity to grow. Haruhi agrees with Tamaki, but thinks that maybe the twins don't know how to reconcile because they never fought. After that, in the club room, the twins continue fighting and even say that they are going to use black magic items to curse each other, and that bothers Haruhi. She slaps them on the head and she scolds them for having made everyone uncomfortable with their fights and orders them to settle this battle, or she will never let them go to her house. Suddenly, the twins return to normal and reveal that it was all a prank, and now they can go to Haruhi's house. The next day, Haruhi realizes that they changed their hair colors to confuse the others, but she can still tell them apart, and the twins realize that their world of 2 has increased to 3. Days later, a boy named Shiro says he doesn't want to play the piano anymore and runs away to music room number 3 looking for someone. When he opens the door, he finds the host club wearing Arab clothes and asks Tamaki to take him as an apprentice. Then, Shiro attends a host club tea session and watches as he flirts with the girls. But that's not Shiro's gift, and his words are hurtful instead of compliments. Then he is horrified by the twins' scenes and accuses them of it. And he also doesn't like that Honey is cute and small when he is the older one. Finally, he runs into Haruhi and asks her if she is because he sees her as very feminine, and the boys intervene because they don't want Shiro to discover her secret. Tired of his sharp attitude, Tamaki the boy and he starts whining that he doesn't have time and needs to learn how to make a woman happy, and finally praises Tamaki, saying that he wants to learn everything from a genius like him. Tamaki changes his mind and says that he will train him to be a good host, and Ootori says that it will be difficult to find a new role for him because the members have all the different personalities that the guests love. Suddenly, Range walks in and says that as the club manager, she has the perfect personality for Shiro, the naughty type. So she coaches him and gives him tips on how to be an attraction for girls. But Shiro gets angry and runs away, saying that he will never win her over like that, and the boys are left wondering who he is referring to. Tamaki decides that they have to find out more about Shiro and plans a new mission. Honey and Haruhi must dress as elementary school kids and infiltrate Shiro's classroom. But the other boys are not far behind, and they also enter Shiro's classroom and see a photo of him and a girl playing the piano. So they all go to the music room in that area and see Shiro act shyly in front of that girl. Then Tamaki asks another student for information about that girl, and she tells them that Hina is going to live in Germany the other weekend. Suddenly, Shiro leaves the music classroom and gets angry when he sees them there, but Tamaki picks him up and takes him away. In the club room, Tamaki scolds Shiro and tells him that a host's job is to make several women happy, but when you want to make just one woman happy, it's a man's job. Shiro deflates and says that nothing matters anymore because Hina will be leaving soon, but Tamaki insists on teaching him to play a Mozart piece since the boy didn't realize that Hina wanted to play a piano along with him. Days pass and Tamaki gives intense piano lessons to Shiro until one day they send an invitation card to Hina. She goes to the music room and is greeted by the elegantly dressed members, and Shiro invites her to play the piano with him, and they have a wonderful time. Haruhi is moved and says that Tamaki taught him the wholehearted love. 10 days later, Shiro tells his guests that he writes emails with Hina, but he didn't tell her that he's found his role in the host club, being the adorable little brother. Days later, Haruhi is taken to a summer theme park owned by Ootori's family. It will only open next month, but the host club booked it today to rest for a while as if they were on the beach. The twins want to swim with her and tell her to for sweater, but she put it on at the suggestion of Tamaki, who upon seeing her wearing it, turned red because he couldn't stand her beauty, although he says that he feels like a father shielding his daughter from the sight of the boys. Then Honey invites Haruhi to swim, and she sees that he is wearing floaties and thinks that he doesn't know how to swim, but in reality, he says that he looks cute like that. Suddenly, Renj appears wearing a and the twins ask Tamaki why he doesn't give her a sweater, but he says that Renj is wearing a cosplay, so it's okay. Renj says that they didn't realize that Honey was acting cuter than usual because he felt by Shiro, and then she disappeared out of nowhere again. Then the twins start a fight with water, but Tamaki thinks that's childish until the twins make him angry, by saying that they will marry Haruhi and the water fight begins. Unfortunately, Tamaki falls into one of the totems that manage the pool's artificial waves, and they engulf Honey. Ootori explains to them that the park is huge and shows them the map where Honey could have ended up, so Tamaki announces the rescue mission for their cute member. The place looks like a real jungle with sudden storms like the Amazon. While they take shelter, Haruhi realizes that Mory is worried, although his face doesn't show it. Then the boys tell her that Honey and Mory are cousins and both families have been related for generations as master and lackey. But at some point in history, the families reunited by marriage and now they are one family. After the rain, Ootori talks to the manager of the theme park and tells them the situation. While Mory follows his instinct and goes to look for Honey on his own, Haruhi decides to follow him. After that, Ootori says that his family's specialized police are going to look for Honey, but the squad's mission is to rescue a cute little boy and eliminate any stranger. Meanwhile, Haruhi and Mory continue advancing through the artificial jungle, but suddenly, they are surrounded by specialized police. They think that Haruhi is the little cute boy and Mory a dangerous stranger. Mory defends himself extremely well, and not only that, Honey arrives on a vine and defeats the entire squad alone. At that moment, the other members of the club arrive and tell Haruhi that Honey is a black belt in judo and karate and his family is famous for their dojos, while Mory is an expert in kendo. The squad immediately apologizes for the offenses committed and leaves. At the end of the day, Haruhi suggests going to a real beach another day because it will be more fun, and everyone agrees with her. Days later, the host club goes to the beach as Haruhi had suggested, but she doesn't understand why they have to do club activities on the beach too. Then Tamaki says that it was all a plan since the twins wanted to see Haruhi in a... That's why he brought the guests to the beach too, and this way, Haruhi has to pretend to be a boy and the twins can't see her with little... After that, Haruhi is invited by Honey to look for seafood and she says that she never did it well, but incredibly the beach is full of crustaceans. She finds out that Ootori's family's private police squad felt guilty about the past incident, so they are filling the beach with crustaceans for Honey to have fun with. Haruhi also has fun collecting crabs and Tamaki finds it adorable. But one of the crabs she tags has a centipede and instead of being scared like any other girl, she takes it away. Then the twins propose a new game, finding Haruhi's weakness, and Ootori gets into the game and says that the winner will be rewarded with unseen photos of Haruhi as a girl. The game begins and the twins take her to a dark cave, but she finds it boring and Honey locks himself in a truck with her, but that only scares Honey, who has claustrophobia. Finally, Mory shows her a large knife thinking that maybe she is scared of... But that is not the case. So Tamaki gathers snakes to scare her, but the twins think that even that won't scare her. Meanwhile, some girls were being hurt by two guys and Haruhi sees them, so she confronts the guys alone. One of them throws her into the sea, and fortunately, Tamaki comes running to get her out of the water. Later, Tamaki scolds Haruhi for facing two huge guys alone, and she says that she wasn't going to just watch those guys and do nothing. But Tamaki gets angrier because she doesn't understand the dangerous situation she was in. The fight escalates further and Tamaki says that he won't talk to her until she recognizes her mistake. At night, a storm approaches and everything is gray, except Haruhi, who surprises everyone wearing a pretty dress at dinner, and Tamaki can't stand not talking to her and the tension is felt in the air. So Haruhi starts eating a lot crab legs to not talk to him, and Tamaki leaves the dinner angry because she still doesn't understand the danger she was in. Without Tamaki, the other boys tell Haruhi that she should apologize, but not for what she did, but for worrying them greatly, and she only realizes that they love her a lot and were only worried about her. Suddenly, she feels a stomachache because she ate too much crab and runs to the nearest bathroom, which is the one in Ootori's room. After leaving the bathroom, he turns off the lights and throws her on a bed, showing her the dangers of being a girl facing guys bigger than her. But she is not afraid of him because she trusts Ootori, although she understands why they were so worried about her. Suddenly, the door opens and Tamaki finds them in together and is ready to beat up Ootori, but he tells him that nothing is what it seems and leaves them alone. Tamaki also wants to leave, but Haruhi stops him by grabbing his shirt, but she quickly lets go because lightning starts to thunder and she runs to hide in the closet. Haruhi says that she is used to hiding from lightning, and Tamaki realizes that she doesn't rely on anyone, so he opens the closet and tells her that he will always be there for her. She will never be alone again, and hugs her. After that, the other members of the club go to Ootori's room to see if the two of them have reconciled, but what they find is Haruhi blindfolded and Tamaki putting plugs in her ears to help her not see or hear the lightning, but the other kids think the worst of him. Days later, the twins scold Renj because the club ran out of instant coffee and she hasn't replaced it, so Renj confesses that she doesn't know what instant coffee is or where to buy it. Since it is the club's favorite drink, they beg Haruhi to buy more because only she knows where to get it, and she reluctantly goes. All of her classmates tell her that before the twins were very serious, but since she arrived, they seem to have fun with everyone. Later, when she comes back from buying a lot of coffee, she meets a girl from another academy. Meanwhile, two girls from the same academy go to the host club and find the boys dressed as medieval knights, and Tamaki tries to flirt with them, as he always does, but they easily evade his compliments and almost insult him for being a man. Suddenly, Haruhi and the other girl walk in, and she says that she instantly realized that Haruhi is a girl. Her natural charm gave her away. They are students of the Lobelia Women's Academy, and they introduce themselves using their talents. They are Benyo, Chizuru, and Hinako, members of the Zuka Club. Suddenly, Renj appears and explains that the Zuka Club gathers the best girls from the academy and trains them to be maidens, including singing training and theatrical routines. Benyo is the leader and is angry with what the host club does, since they give false love to their guests to feed their egos, and on top of that they have a girl posing as a man, and they swear to destroy the host club. The boys don't pay attention to her, although Haruhi makes them instant coffee, and the girls can't believe that a girl as nice as her is in this club, so they are ready to steal her and transfer her to Lobelia. But Haruhi resists and begins to defend the host club, but the defense goes to hell when she discovers that the twins stole her mechanical pencil and Ootori sold it for a very high price as personalized merch. Benyo realizes that Haruhi is angry with the host club and tells her that tomorrow they will hear her response again. The sad thing is that Tamaki and the boys realize that maybe Haruhi is perfect for the Zuka Club, since she is talented, beautiful, and kind, so Tamaki devises a plan to avoid it. The next day, the Lobelia girls go to look for Haruhi and take her to the club room to decide her future. But when they open the door, they are shocked. The boys dressed as women, and Tamaki tells Haruhi that if she stays with them, they could be her sisters. They would all be a happy family. The Lobelia girls take it as an insult, but Haruhi bursts out laughing. Then Haruhi says that she never thought about transferring schools because her future is in this academy, and the girls leave, but Benyo promises that she will continue trying to take her to Lobelia. On the weekend, Tamaki rests in his big mansion and has a horrible nightmare. He dreams of the visit that he and the boys will give to Haruhi, but the house is in very bad condition, and she is so that she had to fast for 3 days to buy food for everyone. Tamaki wakes up agitated and wants to go see Haruhi right now, but his maidservant tells him that he is dressed in pajamas and today is Sunday, and takes him to study good manners. After that, Tamaki calls Ootori to go right away to where Haruhi lives and make sure she lives in a good place. Later, Haruhi returns from the supermarket to find luxury cars parked outside the apartment complex and sees all the club members, who praise her for her cute dress. They enter Haruhi's small apartment and keep complimenting it to the point of being ridiculous, and the twins give her tea exported from Africa as a gift, but Tamaki silently scolds them because maybe she doesn't have a teapot, although she does have one like every normal house. So Tamaki and the twins agree to try to no offend Haruhi's heart since she is a commoner, but that is difficult because they don't know that she could offend Haruhi. After drinking tea, they get hungry, and Ootori says that he will pay for the meal with the club's money, which he made thanks to Haruhi's photos. Haruhi says that a friend sells very good sushi, and Tamaki tries to tell Haruhi be careful with the quality, and that makes her angry because she is not a naive girl like he thinks she is. Then Honey says that he would like to eat Haruhi's homemade food, and she agrees, but first she has to go to the market again, and the boys offer to go with her because they have never been to one. Before leaving, Tamaki sees the photo of Haruhi's mother and pays his respects and says that she was a very pretty woman, and Haruhi says that she was a very intelligent lawyer. Tamaki stands up to leave but trips and falls on Haruhi, and that's how her father finds them, who had just gotten home from work, dressed as a woman. Immediately, the man takes Tamaki away from his daughter and calls him a pest. Tamaki tries to defend himself, saying that everything was an accident and they only came to visit her, but the twins come in and tell the man that Tamaki is not a serious boy because he is always flirting with girls, and Haruhi's father concludes that Tamaki is an idiot. After that, Haruhi's dad tells them that he works at a trainee bar and his stage name is Renka, and he knows all of their names because he speaks frequently with Ootori since he gives him reports on how her daughter is doing at school. So Haruhi decides to go to the market alone to shop because she is tired of everyone. Renka tells them that Haruhi was always independent and never relied on him, which made him sad, but he understood that she always thinks of others first. Tamaki agrees with him, and Renka speaks ironically to him since he continually appears in the stories that Haruhi tells him and scolds him for confusing his beautiful daughter with a boy. After the stories, Renka suggests that they secretly follow Haruhi to the market since he is used to doing that. When Haruhi's mother passed away, she took charge of the kitchen and stubbornly wanted to go to the market alone. so Ranka had to follow her secretly to take care of her. Ranka says that Haruhi is a person who does not realize that others worry about her, but has the ability to save anyone, and Tamaki agrees with him again and makes Ranka angry because he thinks that Tamaki is after his daughter and punching him sends him flying. Tamaki lands at Haruhi's feet, and she lets him carry the shopping bag, surprising Ranka, who then realizes that his daughter has let more people into her life. Days later, a little blonde girl sneaks into Ouran Academy looking for her brother, and when she enters the host club room, she jumps into Tamaki's arms, saying that he is her brother because they are both blonde. Tamaki is confused because he is an only child and tries to explain to the little girl that he is not her brother, but that makes her sad and he accepts her as his little sister. Then a blonde boy enters the room looking for a little girl named Karimi. He's her brother, but the boys don't know this student. Suddenly, the blonde boy's employees arrive and put his classic outfit on him. He is Nekozawa. His mate explains that the light makes Nekozawa sick, and that is why they cover him with a hood and wig. And his butler says that Karimi is different. She loves the light. Karimi starts to cry when she sees Nekozawa, thinking that he's a monster, so the twins try to take off his hood, but he doesn't want to, so Honey closes the curtains, but Karimi starts to cry. It's all a family tragedy. It turns out that Karimi fell in love with the portrait of her brother without a hood and believed that he is a prince, and when she found out that he attended this school, she came to look for him. Although the butler and maid have told her countless times that Nekozawa is her brother, she does not believe them and continues searching for him. Nekozawa is heartbroken and asks Tamaki to be a good brother to Karimi and run away. This makes Haruhi sad since she never had siblings, and is more sad that Nekozawa is rejected, and that gives an idea to Tamaki. He says that their duty is to make girls happy, and Karimi is a girl who needs her brother to be happy, so they will help them and summon Renj. She is an expert at changing personalities and can help them with Nekozawa. Renj's training begins. She tries to make him a prince, but he blurts out occult comments when he shouldn't, and she scolds him. After much more scolding and pointing a flashlight at him, Renj says that Nekozawa is ready because his problem is not the light. It is cowardice, and orders him to talk to the teddy bear as if it were Karimi, but he can't do it. So the twins give him a mannequin to try, but Tamaki is fascinated because it looks like Haruhi. At that moment, Haruhi enters her and tells them that Karimi has had her reading Prince manga to him all day, but she didn't realize that she left the door open and Karimi enters behind her. She gets scared because the room is very dark and Tamaki comes out to comfort her, which makes Nekozawa sad. Then he decides to gather courage and shines the flashlight on his face to face the light and shows Karimi that he is her blonde brother. But the light of the flashlight makes his face look ghostly and Karimi runs away crying in terror. Tamaki tells Nekozawa that he has to keep trying, and the twins open the curtains and say that Karimi is in the yard with a cat. Suddenly, Nekozawa gets desperate to get out because Karimi has a phobia of cats and jumps out the window to save her, and the little girl jumps into his arms. He tells her that with the power of his puppet, he will scare away all the cats, but the sunlight affects him too much and he... Days later, Nekozawa puts on his dark clothes and waits again, but this time Karimi smiles at him because she knows that he is his brother. He is the protector prince. The next day, while the twins were playing, they spill tea on Honey's precious stuffed rabbit, and Tamaki is very scared because that is a stuffed animal handmade by his grandmother. And not only that, they are afraid to wake Honey from his nap because he is known to be... If woken up early, his tantrums are so big that he once defeated 2 US Army platoons when he went to train there. Then Tamaki gives the twins a mission. They have to go find Honey's grandmother and ask her to make a new stuffed rabbit. But they make him see that that is impossible, and the other option is for Haruhi to dress up like a rabbit to appease Honey. But she fervently refuses. All the shouting wakes up Honey, and the first thing he does is look for her pink rabbit. And when he sees it dirty with tea, he looks for someone to blame, but Mory tells him that the rabbit wanted to drink tea. And that is enough for Honey to calm down and become as cheerful as ever. Later, during the tea session with his guests, Honey feels a discomfort in his mouth and Mory checks it and sees that he has cavities. This is not a surprise because he loves sweets and eats too much, so Tamaki proposes ban everything sweet in the club until Honey recovers. Days later, Honey tries to steal candies in his school bag, but Mory confiscates them when he realizes it, and not only that, Mory also orders Ootori to control the other members so that they do not give candy to Honey. The twins can't believe Mory is so strict and goes against generations of genes that ask him to obey Honey. That leaves Haruhi thinking, and by chance she sees a girl confessing her feelings to Mory. Although he remains silent, she realizes that he has someone else. The next day, Honey tries to get candy at any cost, but is unsuccessful because Mory, his guests, and Haruhi only want his well-being and realize that he is trying to manipulate them. His failed attempts put him in a bad mood and he gets angry at everyone. Tamaki tries to call him out, but Honey bites him and Mory stops him. But that's worse for Honey. He throws him to the floor and yells at him that he hates him before running away. Mori remains crestfallen, and Haruhi realizes that Mori did it on purpose, and he confesses that he feels guilty about the situation. He forgot to tell Honey to brush his teeth twice before nap, so he will take the bad mood from him as punishment. This is heard by Honey, who begins to cry, hugging Mori, and tells him that he will never forget to brush his teeth again. Many days later, the candy ban is lifted at the host club, and Honey goes back to eating all the candy and patties he loves. That day, the girl who fell in love with Mori enters the club and tells him that she already realized that Honey is someone very dear to him, and she finds that adorable. Days later, Haruhi has a strange dream. It begins with her handing in her academy registration papers until she decides to follow a pink stuffed rabbit to the host club room. There she falls through a tunnel and lands on an ancient vase in a giant room. Then she sees Shiro eat a banana, and he immediately becomes tiny and runs away through a small door, and she does the same. But when she goes through the small door, she falls into a sea that takes her to a pool. When she leaves the pool, she sees Ootori dressed as a caterpillar cooking bubbles. He has a mushroom plant with magical powers. At that moment, Nekozawa and Kurimi enter and eat the mushrooms. Kurimi grows into a big girl, while Nekozawa is now a baby. The baby starts crawling and goes through a mysterious door, and Haruhi worries about him, so she follows him to a room, where Renge is holding the baby and the twins are cats. Suddenly, Renge says that she has been summoned to court and hands the baby to Haruhi, but the baby is now a wooden cat. She leaves looking for her way out, but the cat twins tell her that she can't leave without meeting the queen, but she continues looking for her way to home. Later, Haruhi stumbles upon a large tea room, where Honey, Mori, and Tamaki tease her, but she snaps back at them and they complain that she doesn't look much like Alice. Then Tamaki asks her what she will do after studying at the academy, and Haruhi confesses that she has a dream to fulfill. And they tell her that studying is good, but she should also have fun. Suddenly, they hear something, and Tamaki says that it is time for Renge's at the queen's whim. Haruhi doesn't understand why and runs to save her. Meanwhile, in court, Renge is accused of attending the queen's music festival, and suddenly, Haruhi runs in and says that she will be Renge's lawyer. Then the queen says that Renge's true crime is having attended the queen's call, leaving her baby alone. But Haruhi defends her by saying that when parents have to work, the child understands that her parents are busy. Then the king says that she is not qualified to be a lawyer because she also committed a crime. She broke an ancient vase, and Tamaki appears as a witness, saying that Haruhi only wants to study without having fun. Suddenly, all the members of the club appear dressed like characters from Alice in Wonderland, and the king takes off his mask. He is Haruhi's father, and the queen is her mother. She apologizes to her for interfering in her student's dream and asks her to have more fun. Haruhi runs to hug her, crying, but she suddenly wakes up. When she opens her eyes, everyone is dressed as characters from Alice in Wonderland. Since that is the theme of today's tea party, and Haruhi admits that her funny dream is the same as real life. Days later, the newspaper club laments for not being able to sell their newspapers at the academy, unlike the host club who sell their photo magazines like hotcakes. The club's president, Akira, feels sad that the club may be closed and watches the host club have their outdoor tea session. Meanwhile, Tamaki and the twins play with a baseball, but the twins almost hit Haruhi with the ball, so Tamaki kicks it hard and it reaches the journalism club room, going through the window and hitting Akira in the head. The host club are going to apologize, and Akira tells them the sad situation of the club because they wanted to sell faster. They started making fake news and lost their sense of truth, so he begs them to let him interview them to save the club. Ootori and the twins refuse, but Akira reminds them that his head hurts a lot from the blow, so Tamaki agrees for everyone to reestablish the truthfulness of the club. The others refuse and leave, which makes Tamaki sad, because the clubs are like a family. If a club is disbanded, it is as if a beloved family is broken. Later, Haruhi says that soon Tamaki will start looking at them with puppy eyes, and they will all succumb, and she is right. Soon they fall for Tamaki's charms, and Ootori says that there will be a condition. They will be the ones who will handle the stories that will be published. The next day, Ootori talks to Akira and tells him his conditions, and Akira agrees and telling him a little about himself. He is the eldest son of a family that has a publishing firm, but his father decided that his little brother should be his successor, so he wants to show that his newspaper club is popular at the academy. And Ootori says that he understands and leaves him a first aid box especially for him. When Akira is alone with his lackey, he says that his real target is Tamaki. He is sure that he used his father's connections to open a host club to have fun with the girls. The next day, the host club invites the newspaper club to observe them during their day, but Akira and his lackeys are perplexed when the first thing they see is Tamaki and the others playing an ordinary game. Tamaki explains that he wants readers to see the host club as accessible, but Akira has other intentions and questions Haruhi. Akira asks her a lot of snide questions about Tamaki's family and doesn't think the boys have fun playing those strange games, but Haruhi assures him that it's true. Then Tamaki proposes to play kick the can and run away, so Tamaki kicks it and takes Haruhi's hand to hide in the rose garden maze. There, Haruhi realizes that she doesn't know much about Tamaki, and he tells her that his was sick when he was very little, and he preferred to play the piano for her than go out and play, and that's why he never had friends. So now he enjoys playing these silly games with real friends. Meanwhile, Akira decides to write lies about Tamaki because he hasn't discovered anything dirty about him. But when he arrives at his club room, he finds Ootori, Honey, Mori, and the twins waiting for them. They say that they know the truth about him and threaten him to leave Tamaki alone, and Akira thinks that it is true that they are controlled by Tamaki. But that is not true. They are united as a family and would never let another hurt their dumb president who hasn't realized how dangerous Akira is. Also, they have proof of Akira's. The first aid box that Ootori gave him had microphones recording everything Akira planned, but they promised to do nothing if they become a respectable newspaper. Later, the boys go to look for Tamaki and Haruhi in the Rose Garden maze and tell them that the newspaper club will not interview them anymore because they have other news to publish. And Haruhi takes the opportunity to ask Ootori about Tamaki's family, and he lists all the companies and hotels that Tamaki's father owns, and not only that, but he is also the principal of the school. Weeks later, summer break begins and Tamaki is desperate because he cannot communicate with Haruhi. He thinks that her father and her have been kicked out of their house and are now homeless, and that is why he cannot find them. He desperately calls the other club members and tells them what is happening, but Ootori tells him that Haruhi is in Karuizawa working at a bed and breakfast. Haruhi thinks that she would have time to study and rest from the craziness of the host club boys, but suddenly, a helicopter lands with Tamaki and the boys on board. The owner of the pension, named Masuzu, tells them that Haruhi's father had to go on a work trip and Haruhi offered to work there, and now the boys understand why she rejected their invitations to go on vacation to Bali or Switzerland. Although she repeats to them that she does not have a passport. The thing is, Haruhi wants to spend her vacation alone and they insist on staying, and Ootori reads her the school regulations, which say that students cannot have part-time jobs. So Tamaki decides that everyone should stay at the pension as part of the club activities, but Misuzu tells them that she only has one room, and the twins propose a competition. The winner gets the room. Then the boys start to work repairing the pension, although Misuzu deducts points from Tamaki for complaining about so much work, and from Honey for trying to fool her with his charms. Instead, she gives extra points to the twins for being good receptionists and to Mory for his strength when it comes to carrying things. The only one not participating is Ootori, and he reveals to Haruhi that they all have cottages in the area but want to win the contest. He thinks Mory is the candidate to win, but the twins are very close. Then Haruhi says that if the twins win, they won't be able to stay because the room has a single bed, but Kaoru and Hikaru aren't worried. They can bring an extra bed or both sleep in the same bed as they have always done. The next day, Tamaki is still losing points, so Ootori tells him how he can win the contest. It turns out that there is a piano in the pension, and Ootori suggests that he play it, and when Tamaki begins to play skillfully, all the guests and Misuzu are enthralled listening to him. Meanwhile, Haruhi and the twins continue cleaning outside when suddenly a vase falls from a window on Haruhi and Kaoru pushes her so that she doesn't get hurt, but the vase makes a cut on his face and Hikaru runs worried to check on his brother. He was so scared that he hugs him, and the whole scene is seen by Misuzu, who crowns them as winners. At night, the brothers kick each other and one ends up sleeping on the floor. The next morning, the twins are in a bad mood and Tamaki serves them breakfast since he still wants to receive Misuzu points even though the competition is over. Suddenly, a boy enters the pension and seems to know Haruhi. He is Arai and the two stare at each other. It turns out that Arai is a former Haruhi classmate at the middle school. Haruhi introduces her clubmates, but about Tamaki, she only says that he is an acquaintance, which depresses him and goes to chop papers to a corner. Arai is clearly interested in Haruhi, and that bothers Hikaru, who says it out loud, earning a scolding from Haruhi. But Arai admits that in the past he was in love with her until Haruhi rejected him, and that shocks everyone, including Haruhi. It turns out that a year ago, Arai told Haruhi that he liked her, but she didn't understand him and thought he talked about anything else, and he realized that if she didn't understand it, it is because she was not interested in him. After that, Arai tells Haruhi's stories from the past to all, except the twins who remain distant, because Hikaru does not like Arai, and from afar he tells them that he does not care what happened in the past and less about Arai. This makes Haruhi angry and slaps Hikaru in the face and asks him to stop being mean with her friend, and that worsens the situation because Hikaru shouts that they are her friends now, not Arai. Hikaru leaves the room and Kaoru goes in his search and tells him that what he did was childish, but Hikaru does not know why he is so angry. Later, one of the twins apologizes to Arai, and when he leaves, Haruhi scolds him because she realized that it's Kaoru making Hikaru. Then Kaoru, out of nowhere, asks for a favor. He wants to have a date with her, and Haruhi accepts. The next day, Haruhi sees Hikaru, and he explains that Kaoru has a cold and begs him to come in his place for her to have a good time today. Meanwhile, everyone observes Hikaru and Haruhi's date, although Tamaki has to be grabbed among all to stay silent. And the worst part is that the maids of the twins put a hyper-cute dress on her, and Tamaki can even tell her that she looked pretty. Then Kaoru explains that Hikaru considers Haruhi a dear friend, and he is not accustomed to having friends, since they were always two. But now Haruhi joined his little circle, and Hikaru does not know how to respect her feelings. This date is for him to understand a little about human behavior, and Tamaki leaves his jealousy aside and coincides with him. On the other hand, the date is difficult because the two don't know what to do, and Tamaki frustrates because Hikaru should know how to have fun. He's a member of the host club after all. Honey decides to intervene and disguises himself as a street ice cream seller, but Mori stops him before they see him, and that gives Haruhi an idea. She buys ice cream for both of them, but Tamaki disguises himself as ice cream maker and gives one to Haruhi to prevent them from having an indirect kiss eating from the same ice cream. After that, Haruhi suggests buying gifts for Kaoru because she realized that Hikaru was worried about his brother's cold. Suddenly, they listen to something and realize that it will rain soon, so they decide to return to the pension, but they run into Arai, who offers them to take them to the pension in car, and Haruhi wants to accept because she's afraid of storms, but Hikaru gets angry because he thinks she wants to spend time with Arai and not with him, so he runs away and Haruhi follows him. Later, Tamaki is worried because they don't come back, and Misuzu receives a call from Arai. He tells her what happened to Haruhi and Hikaru. When Tamaki listens to this, he gets very angry and calls Hikaru, and says that he is a selfish person who only thinks of himself without thinking about the feelings of others, and orders him to look for Haruhi because she is afraid of thunder and paralyzes when she listens to one. Hikaru is shocked and runs out to look for Haruhi, kicking himself for not realizing Haruhi's fear before. Hikaru looks for her throughout the town until he finds her hidden in a church. He puts her headphones with music so that she does not listen to thunders. She thanks him for finding her, and he apologizes for everything. The next day, Arai takes a watermelon to the pension as a peace offering, and Hikaru accepts it. Meanwhile, Ootori tells Kaoru that the date could increase Hikaru's feelings to Haruhi, but Kaoru is not worried because his brother will take a long time to realize his true feelings. Days later, the end of summer has arrived, and Tamaki plans an outing to a regional commoner expo. He wants to go so that everyone can better understand Haruhi's feelings and customs. He and the boys go to Ootori's house, but he has barely slept because he was at a family gathering until 5 a.m., so he doesn't want to go, but the boys dress him and take him anyway. When they arrive at the expo, everyone is distracted by the variety of things there, so they leave a sleeping Ootori on a bench and leave. Later, Ootori wakes up and barely remembers Tamaki leaving him there, and the worst thing is that they brought him without his wallet and phone. Fortunately, he runs into Haruhi and asks her how much money she has in her wallet. He is hungry and assures her that he will make Tamaki pay him for everything they spend today. They first go to eat hamburgers, and Haruhi is surprised at his bad mood and lack of the refined manners that he always has at the academy, and wonders how he gets along so well with Tamaki. And Ootori surprises her by saying that he acts according to his interests, and Haruhi thinks that Tamaki would cry if he heard him talk that way, but Ootori simply says that Tamaki knows since their families know each other, and there are many things that she does not know about them. After that, they go to check out the regional products expo. While they look at the stalls, Haruhi asks him a little about his family, and he tells her that he's the youngest of 3 brothers, and his father expects more from him than the other 2 because his older brothers are perfect to be the next head of the family. Suddenly, Ootori sees a lady being scammed by an antique dealer, and he intervenes by proving that the dealer was a liar and has him arrested. Haruhi thinks that Ootori did a good deed out of nowhere, but he says that the lady is the wife of the chairman of a major electronics maker, and he helped her because he saw that she was wearing a ring from a family that has many business dealings with his. After that, they go to the candy section, and Ootori is interested in some artificial melon-flavored candy, and Haruhi laughs because that's what Tamaki would be interested in. So the two have something in common. Meanwhile, the other members of the club are having a great time at the different attractions of the expo, eating ice cream, petting dogs, and finally sitting down to watch a play. And after that, they go to the lost children desk, and Tamaki describes Ootori so that they call him over the loudspeaker. That makes Ootori angry, but Haruhi laughs and says that he claims to act selfishly, but he is not, because when he helped to that lady, he hadn't seen the ring yet, and he just laughs at being caught. The next day at the academy, a boy named Chika enters the club looking for honey, When he sees him, the boy begins to attack him and Haruhi worries because no one stops the fight. Even Range appears to relate the fight between the two. Where the fight ends, Honey is the winner because he used kunai to immobilize Chika, and the boys tell Haruhi that Chika is Honey's brother. Chika explains that the Zuka family has developed their own form of martial arts and a refined, austere lifestyle, something Honey does not do. He left the karate club to join this club and he loves sweets madly, so Chika does not accept that he is the next head of the family. After that, Chika leaves and Haruhi asks why Honey left the karate club. Then the twins speak up and tell her what happened 2 years ago. It turns out that since childhood, Honey has always been strong, but his short stature makes many doubt his abilities, so his father asked him to have self-control and avoid sweet things, stuffed animals, and try to behave like a man. Honey listened to him and started high school well. He even became the captain of the karate club, but everyone saw that he resisted sweets, and that caused tenderness in the girls. Then one day Tamaki tried to convince Honey to create a club with him. A club that would let him be cute, and he could eat all the candy he wanted. Honey first resisted, but Tamaki asked him what true strength was, and that left Honey thinking. Days later, Honey asked his father what true strength is, and his father challenged him to a fight to show him what true strength means, but Honey brutally defeated him. His father was left in very bad condition, and it was decided that the result of the fight would be a secret, and not just any secret, but a national one. If people knew Honey's true strength, the world would accuse Japan of creating warriors. After that fight, Honey was free to leave the karate club and join Tamaki to create the host club, but as a result, his younger brother was educated more strictly and now he doesn't like him. Then Tamaki says that the club's new mission will be to make the two brothers reconcile. The club goes to observe Chika being captain of the karate club, and they soon realize that he has an inferiority complex because for the boys he is no stronger than Honey, and the girls think that he is not as cute as his brother. Chika realizes that they are spying on him and goes out to confront them. He says that what bothers him about his brother is not his cuteness or his strength. He cannot stand that his brother eats 3 cakes every night after dinner. They used to get along well because Honey moderated his sugar intake, but ever since Tamaki put weird ideas in his head about true strength, his brother has turned into a sugar-guzzling alien. This saddens Honey, so Mory suggests that the two fight one more time. If Chika wins, Honey has to eat only 2 cakes each night and the two agree. The fight begins, and it is noted that Honey is now using the moves that Chika used in the last fight. Mori says that this is one of Honey's fighting tactics, but he is sure that he will let Chika win because he wants to regain the bond with his brother. But that doesn't happen. To everyone's shock, Honey quickly defeats his brother and says that starting today he will eat more cakes. On the weekend, the boys go to visit Haruhi, but she is not at home and her father shocks them by telling them that she went out with 3 girls from Lobelia. The boys are scared that the girls will convince Haruhi to changing academy, while Ranka is worried that those girls want to kiss Haruhi, so they all agree to go spy on them. Meanwhile, Haruhi is in Lobelia and the Zuka girls insist that she try on their uniform and shower her with compliments when they see how she looks, although Haruhi is a little angry because she was this morning by them. Then the girls explain to Haruhi that today is Pink Day, the academy celebrates its founder's birthday with a mega show. But a girl got injured and that's why they thought of her as a replacement. Haruhi refuses to do it, but Benyo tells her that her mother used to belong to the Zuka club and she put on a great show in her time and she always dreamed of equaling her. This touches Haruhi and she accepts. Meanwhile, outside the academy, Ranka tells the boys that he always knew that Haruhi would fall into Lobelia's hands because her mother was a big fan of the Zuka club in her time and Tamaki wants to get a Lobelia uniform right now so that everyone can sneak in to rescue Haruhi. But Ranka has a better plan and everyone puts on Zuka fan club t-shirts. They sneak into the practice room windows and watch Haruhi practicing her lines and are a little disappointed when they hear her because she sounds like a robot. And on top of that, she doesn't even know how to sing. She does lip sync. Suddenly, they are caught by the fan club of Zuka Club and Ranka saves them by saying that they want to join and the girls teach them the club's cheers and songs. After that, the girls tell them that they are worried that the new girl will ruin the play. But if that happens, there is a group of girls who will force her off the stage and punish her. That scares Ranka and the boys who swear to defend Haruhi, so they all go to the theater where the play will take place, while Ootori decides to go further and diplomatically sneaks into the theater's control room. Later, the play begins and the boys realize that Haruhi is trying her best, so they let the show continue. But then, a revenge scene comes and Benyo announces that she will take revenge on the host club by stealing Haruhi's first kiss. Tamaki quickly runs to avoid it, but Ootori controls the digital screens and shows that Haruhi's real first kiss has already occurred. Then Tamaki opens his arms for Haruhi to jump and escape with him, and to everyone's surprise, she does but falls on top of him, almost knocking him out, and Benio announces that it doesn't matter if it's the second or third kiss. She will steal it anyway and starts chasing Haruhi, and the rest of the host club also chases her to stop her. Days later, the twins remember how they joined the host club. They were always identical and not even their own family could discern them. At their young age, they realized that the people around them did not care to differentiate them. First, it was a maid who took care of them. They promised to give her the password to the mansion's safe as long as she could tell them apart. But the maid preferred to steal a password than learn to tell them apart. Later in middle school, a girl tried to confess her feelings to Hikaru, but he made her believe that he was Kaoru and the girl was willing to go out with him too. She didn't care to tell them apart, she just wanted to be with one of them. As time went by, they became ostracized and their circle of 2 people and their classmates did not tolerate them, but they still pretended to be their friends because of their important family. But everything changed when Tamaki showed. He told them that he wanted to create a club the next year and wanted them as a package of 2. But the twins put a condition on him. If he could tell them apart, they would join his club and he had 1 month to complete the task. As the days go by, Tamaki tries everything to differentiate them and does not give up. But the twins soon get bored of him and decide to put an end to their game by telling him that they know that he is an illegitimate son and to spread the rumor throughout the school. But despite that, Tamaki does not give up and tries to differentiate them by intuition and succeeds, but the twins say that it is not allowed to guess. And Tamaki says that even though they are inconsistent in their desires to be differentiated, he emphasizes that individuality is important. The twins say that they will never be able to be differentiated, and that hurts, but Tamaki says that one day a person will come who can do it, and that is why they have to join his club to expand their world. Sometime later, the twins agreed to join the club. And although at first they told themselves that it was to kill time, they knew that this was the right decision. Weeks later, Haruhi's class begins to plan the Halloween party, but Ren steps in and says that Halloween is too important to have a simple party. She suggests holding a Halloween special courage test tournament. Then the twins get excited about the idea and plan to ask the principal of the academy to open it at midnight. And if any student gets scared and runs away, he will appear on the front page of the school newspaper. After that, the twins and Haruhi go to the club room to tell Tamaki that they will not attend the club activities this week because they have to participate in the organization of their class's courage tournament. Tamaki, who was already dressed as a vampire and pretended to bite his guest's neck, can't help but imagine Haruhi scared in the night and taking refuge in the twins' arms. Meanwhile, Nekozawa also plans to give the first years a scare. Later, Haruhi meets with Soga, the class representative. He is crestfallen because he is a scared cat. Everything scares him and he asks her if he can be in her group on Halloween night, but he asks him to keep his secret. Unfortunately for him, the twins overhear Soga and they write down the group of 4, including Haruhi and Soga. A week later, on Halloween night, the twins have fun terrifying Soga by telling him ghost stories and Haruhi scolds them. Then the twins ask him if he didn't object to the courage test because he likes Kurakano, and he says that it seemed like she wanted the courage test, and that's why he couldn't stop the idea. This moves the twins and they decide not to tease him anymore. Suddenly, Haruhi sees a shadow in the window and everyone gets scared. And that's not all. A skull falls from the stairs, but Hikaru kicks it and Tamaki appears dressed as a ghost, and that scares them so much that they run away, and in the corridors, they run into the rest of the host club, scaring them. Suddenly, the group is separated. Hikaru and Haruhi fall into a net trap and Soga and Kaoru are locked in the science room by Nekozawa. Tamaki and Nekozawa watch as the net moves and the blonde thinks the worst, but it's just Haruhi trying to cut the net with her small scissors. While in the other room, Kaoru tells Soga that they had planned to horribly scare Kurakano so that he would bravely rescue her, but Soga says that Kurakano likes Haruhi and the boy will surely reciprocate her feelings, but Kaoru assures him that that won't happen. Suddenly, Hikaru runs in and hugs his brother tightly, who's so worried about him that he left Haruhi alone as soon as they left the net, and that shocks Kaoru greatly. After that, the entire first-year class gathers and Nekozawa scares them with his cat puppet and they all get photographed. The next day, the entire first-year class is called Cowardly Chickens on the front page of the school newspaper. Meanwhile, Kaoru continues to look closely at Hikaru and Haruhi. He knows that one day his brother will want to take the next step with her, and he can't stop wondering what will happen to him when that happens. Days later, a student named Ritsu arrives at the club to beg Mory to take him as a disciple. Ritsu belongs to one of the families in Japan, and thanks to his upbringing, his evil look, and his blizzard personality, he has no friends. Then Ritsu once again begs Mory to teach him how to be friendly to others. He wants to have friends and play like Mory does, since he is serious, not very sociable, and his look is scary. Mori is shocked that others consider him intimidating and doesn't want to take care of Ritsu. Instead, he looks to Tamaki for help, who gladly accepts the mission. Tamaki starts by saying that Ritsu lacks a lovely item, for example. Honey has a pink stuffed rabbit and Mori has honey. Without honey, Mori would be a guy with a menacing look, but with honey, the duo becomes cute. Honey is offended by this and thinks that Mori was using him this whole time, but Mori fervently denies it. The next thing Tamaki wants to fix on Ritsu is his look, so he asks the twins to give him a more modern look. When Ritsu comes home with a new hairstyle, clothes, and a teddy bear, the family thinks someone is bothering his little lord. The next day, Ritsu goes to greet Mori, and suddenly, 2 flower pots fall from the ceiling and Mori breaks them before they hit him. Ritsu thinks that someone is behind him, but Tamaki assures him that it is not like that. So Tamaki continues with his mission to make Ritsu a little more approachable and gives him cat ears and a maid dress following Ren's advice. Unfortunately, Tatsuya, one of his employees, enters the club room looking for Ritsu and is shocked when he sees him like that, so Ritsu runs away and Haruhi follows him. He goes to the rose garden maze and grabs a wicker basket with a sparrow inside it, and Haruhi asks him to feed it. It turns out that the little sparrow hurt its wing and Ritas had taken him to the vet to cure it, but he told him that the sparrow just needed good care and would soon fly away. Ritsu is surprised by Haruhi's beauty and hits himself remembering that as a boy. Suddenly, a can of paint approaches them and Honey kicks it before anyone gets hurt, but the movement causes the sparrow to raise its wings and fly, making Ritsu happy, although Haruhi's uniform is completely stained. It turns out that 2 boys, sons of the family who are enemies of Ritsu's family, were trying to hurt him, but Honey and Mori protected him because Ritsu is good and it shows. Tatsuya scolds those 2 and apologizes to Ritsu because these 2 were part of his family before he ran away from home. Then he says that in the world only Ritsu has shown warmth towards him and asks him to let him join the family. Then Tamaki says that Ritsu should not change his way of being because his own being made friends without him realizing it. This makes Ritsu happy and he thanks them greatly, but he also wants to thank Haruhi and runs to the club room. But when he enters, he sees her changing clothes and realizes that Haruhi is a girl. Immediately, the twins begin to interrogate Ritsu about Haruhi's secret, and he has no choice but to confess that he saw her in her. This upsets Tamaki so much that he almost from rage and remains husk, and the twins decide to hit Ritsu so hard in the head that he will forget everything he saw, but they are stopped by Ootori. He calmly talks to Ritsu. He uses all of his family's power to crush him if he tells Haruhi's secret. Fortunately for Ritsu, Haruhi appears and asks the boys to calm down. She doesn't care much about the others knowing her secret, and that makes him blush. Later, Ritsu's noticed that something is wrong with their little lord as they prepared him a hearty dinner and were willing to play with him, but Ritsu locked himself in his room as soon as he got home from school. Then Tatsuya tells them that Ritsu has a new concern. The little lord has finally fallen in love, but not with just any girl, but with a boy named Haruhi, and that shocks everyone. Meanwhile, Ritsu is in his room debating what to do with Haruhi's secret. He wants her to dress like a girl, but in the end, he decides to do what she asks and swears to keep her beloved's secret. The next day, Ritsu goes to the host club as a guest and asks to have tea with Haruhi. This makes the girls look at him with fervor since they are about to witness the first date of a homo love. Haruhi cordially attends Ritsu, which makes him blush deeply. But the twins look at them angrily and cannot believe that Tamaki is still in husk and is not going to stop whatever is happening between those 2. So they throw Tamaki to the sofa and he sits between the 2. Mori notices that he is still in his robotic mode, so she sits him on the side and gives him a puzzle to distract him, and Tamaki Robot solves it quickly. Suddenly, Tamaki Robot receives a call from the twins and they warn him that if he doesn't stop Ritsu, Haruhi will be a future wife, and that breaks Tamaki's psyche and he finally wakes up. Tamaki angrily scolds Ritsu and says that as Haruhi's dad, he will not allow this relationship. Then Ritsu makes him understand that he is not Haruhi's father to take care of her so much, and that destroys Tamaki's universe. He always cared for and protected Haruhi, saying that he was a father figure to her. But now he wonders why he cares for her so much. He sees her cute and beautiful and gets angry if another boy approaches her. The other boys in the club look at him in shock because they thought he knew about his feelings for Haruhi. All this time, they thought that Tamaki acted like a jealous father to hide his feelings. Ritsu feels a little bad because he thinks he broke Tamaki, but Haruhi agrees that Tamaki sometimes acts like a dad, and that brings Tamaki back to life. Then Ritsu tells Haruhi that he wants to continue having tea with her and starts to blush because he wants to confess his feelings, which causes all the girls to pay attention to them. But Haruhi is very clueless and says that she wants to be her friend. Ritsu feels rejected but understands that she cannot accept his love because she pretends to be a boy, so he proposes to be friends forever, and that causes everyone to cry in sympathy with him because he would rather have Haruhi close than lose her. Later, everyone goes to play kick the can, and Tamaki, as always, takes Haruhi to hide in the rose garden maze, but soon the twins and Ootori arrive. On the other hand, Mori and Honey hide in a tree and they observe the situation. Honey thinks that there are many tangled feelings and wonders if they will be able to see outcome before graduating, and that is something that Mori has no answer for. Days later, Haruhi asks Ootori why he decided to join Tamaki, making an idea as crazy as the host club a reality. Ootori says it all started 2 years ago. Ootori only lived to please his father's demands. Being the youngest of 3 brothers, Ootori had to be the perfect son to even come close to the greatness of his older brothers. Ootori's strict lifestyle worried his older sister because she realized he was unhappy, but Ootori didn't think that was important. One morning, his father told him about Tamaki, a new transfer student from abroad, an illegitimate son of the academy chairman. Since Tamaki's father never had children with his first wife, the heir to the Su Empire is Tamaki, and Ootori's father asked him to become friends with him since both families have a lot of business together. What Ootori was not prepared for was the force of nature that is Tamaki. He was obsessed with Japanese culture, forcing Ootori to buy a kotatsu, and then asking him to go sightseeing together to Kyoto and then to Okinawa. Unfortunately, Ootori didn't know much about Kyoto and Okinawa, so Tamaki apologized for overestimating his tourist knowledge, so next time, Ootori memorized the entire Hokkaido tourist guide to show him how cultured he is. But when Ootori told him to go to Hokkaido, Tamaki rejected him because it was exam time and he couldn't believe that Ootori wanted to waste time and not study, which made Ootori mad at him. Even so, Ootori continued spending time with him because that was his father's request, although his sister realized that Ootori enjoyed spending time with Tamaki. Days later, Tamaki went to visit Ootori and played the piano for him and his brothers, making them cry when they heard the warm melody and without knowing why. But everything went to hell later. Tamaki asks Ootori why he doesn't challenge his brothers to succeed his father as head of the family, when it is obvious that he is not happy with the situation, but Ootori scathingly says that this is something that a direct heir would not understand, and Tamaki confesses that he is on probation time since his grandmother does not accept him as the next head of the family, and furthermore, he is not interested in his dad's business. He wants to do fun things like create an animal kingdom at the Northland. That made Ootori so angry that he almost hit him and yelled at him that he shouldn't give up and use the opportunity he has to show his talent. And Tamaki smiles and tells him that he is the one who gave up, and Ootori realizes that he is right. From that moment on, the two became best friends, and some months later, Tamaki came with a crazy idea of creating the host club, and Ootori accepted because Tamaki has a talent for showing others a new world. Days later, Haruhi sees many trucks arriving at the academy, and the boys tell her that the Oran Fair is tomorrow, and unlike normal schools, this fair is for future heirs to show that they are capable of managing the family business. The host club will give it all tomorrow, from carriage rides to French-style outfits, and for the end, a grand ball. The next day, the host club opens its doors to the parents and families of its guests, and the mothers are enthralled with the club members, while Ootori tells the fathers that they explore different cultures by wearing different outfits every week. But there's someone who is not happy with the host club, a French girl who watches them with an eagle eye. At that moment, the chairman of Oran Academy appears at his son's club. He is a man who looks serious and strict, but he says that he is coming as a guest and asks Haruhi to have tea with him. Haruhi does not see the resemblance between him and Tamaki, but suddenly the man takes out a rose and compliments her because he has heard a lot about her, which makes Tamaki come between them and separate them. Suddenly, they hear a slap. Ootori's father has arrived and is not happy with his son's club and leaves saying that he is embarrassed. But Tamaki's father stops him and whispers that he heard the rumors, but Ootori's father leaves without saying anything. Tamaki asks if everything is because of the host club, and Ootori tells him that it is true, and he is going to continue making calculations about how much Tamaki's whims are going to cost them this time. Tamaki's father tells his son that with great power comes great responsibility. The act of his whims can have great consequences if it is not handled carefully, and finally asks him what he wants to do after high school, because he wants to be the next head of the Su family. That will be a difficult road. At that moment, Tamaki's grandmother arrives and Tamaki is happy, but the old woman asks him not to touch her and she introduces him to Lady Eclair. The old woman tells him that he must escort Eclair throughout the fair. Later, Renj tells them that Eclair is a descendant of French royalty, and Ootori adds that her family business is growing fast in Japan, so it's obvious why Eclair came to see Tamaki, and that baffles Haruhi. Later, Eclair asks Tamaki to play the piano for her. He takes her to the club room, where his piano is and starts playing, and Eclair tells him that everyone is having problems because of him, and Tamaki thinks about Haruhi. She is still in the club posing as a boy because he asked her to. The melody is heard by Haruhi, who does not know why she's upset, so she decides to interrupt the musical piece and tells Tamaki that he had given the orders to change 3 outfits per day, and he is not complying and leaves. Lady Eclair says that this girl seems very jealous, which makes Tamaki happy, but Eclair throws him on the couch and says that she can give him what he wants the most. Meanwhile, Haruhi returns to the classroom complaining about Tamaki's irresponsibility, and the boys also think that she is jealous and explain that Tamaki has to follow his grandmother's orders. Haruhi asks why the old woman was acting so cold towards Tamaki, and they tell her the truth. Tamaki is an illegitimate son. His father took over as head of the Su family at a very young age, and his mother forced him to marry a girl out of convenience, but he soon found true love in France, so he divorced his wife. But his mother opposed them living together, and Tamaki and his mother lived 14 happy years in France alone. But Tamaki's mother's family business went bankrupt, and Tamaki's grandmother offered her financial help if she sent Tamaki to Japan, on the condition that they would never see each other again. Tamaki's mother accepted and sent Tamaki to Japan, but the pain of having exchanged her son for financial help made her disappear, since no one knows where she is now. Many believe that Tamaki's father is the head of the Su family, but in reality, his grandmother is the one who runs everything. Haruhi can't believe that Tamaki is so cheerful with such a complicated upbringing, but Ootori is happy that things have turned out that way, since now Tamaki is who he wants to be thanks to the club. The next day, Clara asks to have tea with Haruhi, and she tells him that Tamaki won't come today because she ordered him to. Meanwhile, the boys comment on the situation of the club. It turns out that Tamaki told them yesterday that the host club will dissolve after the fair, and he will immediately get engaged to Lady Eclair. But Ootori tells them that the important thing is to serve all the guests' parents and have fun. After that, Lady Eclair leaves, and Ootori approaches Haruhi and tells her that with that tea session, she has completely paid her debt. Now she is free to leave the host club. At that moment, Ootori's father stops by the club to scold his son for the host club, but Haruhi says that his son has done an exceptional job at the club, and that's what counts, which surprises the man. Later, Tamaki's father and grandmother talk, and she tells her son that soon Lady Eclair's family will take over the business in Japan, and the marriage between her and Tamaki is important. That's why she promised Tamaki to let him see her mother if he marries her. Then Haruhi tries to call Tamaki, but Eclair throws Tamaki's phone into the fish tank when she sees that Haruhi is calling him, and she forbids Tamaki from talking to his friends from now on. After that, Ootori's father and his lawyer come to talk to Lady Eclair. It turns out that her family is about to buy his medical equipment company, which was going to be inherited by Ootori, but Lady Eclair tells him that she has another offer. In the afternoon, the guys from the club try to call Tamaki, but he doesn't answer their calls, so Ootori calls Tamaki's housekeeper, and she tells him the sad news. Tamaki is going to France tonight because he agreed to marry Lady Eclair in exchange for being able to see his mother again, and not only that, he also does it for Ootori, whose life had been complicated since they met. Ootori doesn't plan to let that happen, so he takes the boys and Haruhi to the parking lot where his family's car is, but the driver only obeys his father's orders, and suddenly, the special forces of Ootori's family arrive with orders not to let them leave Oran Academy. But they didn't count on Honey and Mory. They bring the medieval carriage and tell the twins and Haruhi to go stop Tamaki, while they take charge of the special forces. The twins drive the carriage through the forest, and the desperation of seeing that their family could break up makes them accelerate at full speed. But they do not control the reins well, and Hikaru flies into the air and hurts his arm. Kaoru runs off worried, and Hikaru laments because he doesn't want it to end like this. So Haruhi remembers what her father told her this morning when he saw her sad. There are many things that she can't solve, but she still has to try, so she takes off her wig and medieval cosplay dress and takes the reins of the carriage to go in search of Tamaki. She knows the path Tamaki's car will take, so she soon catches up with him, and he notices that a carriage is following them and yells worriedly that what she's doing is dangerous. She doesn't care and yells at him to come back to them, but he says that everyone feels like the host club is a nuisance, which makes Haruhi angry because she can't believe that he doesn't realize that everyone was joking about it. Suddenly, as they pass over a bridge, Haruhi loses control of the carriage and the bridge. Tamaki immediately wants to jump after her, but Eclair grabs his arm crying, and Tamaki thanks her before jumping to save Haruhi. Then they come out of the river wet but safe and sound. At that moment, the boys from the club arrive and take Tamaki and Haruhi to the academy, since that night will be the grand closing of the Oran Fair with a ballroom dance sponsored by the host club. At night, as the ball takes its course, Tamaki and Ootori's parents meet and talk about what happened. It turns out that someone anonymous bought the Ootori medical supplies company from Lady Eclair's family. But Ootori's father pulled his influence and discovered that it was his own son who bought it, and even though he always planned to inherit it in the future, his son went ahead and took it by force, and not only that, he returned it to him because it is something that does not interest him at the moment. Both parents decide to get along because it is clear that their sons are best friends who have a good influence on each other, but Ootori's father tells him that he liked the honor student Haruhi and plans to marry her to Ootori, but Tamaki's father dissident because his son is in love with her. Meanwhile, all the members of the host club dance with Haruhi dressed as a girl, and she is passed from hand to hand until she happily reaches Tamaki's arms.